Welcome once again to the Bills and Bones podcast. I'm Gio. I'm here as always with my co-host PC. We started Bills and Bones to talk football for the fans with a focus on PC's team, the Buffalo Bills, and my team, the Las Vegas Raiders. This week we had the Raiders taking against the Dolphins, and we had the Bills taking on the undefeated Chiefs. This show is brought to you by a new sponsor that Crowley is going to introduce.
Yeah, this week's show is brought to you by D&M Auto Sales, which is out in West Seneca, 3071 Seneca Street, West Seneca, New York, 14224. If you're looking for a new car, Dave or Dave Jr. will help you find it. If you need, some new tires, they have all the tires you need. Any basic, auto work that you need on your car, they'll take care of it for you. So if you're looking for some of those types of things and you need something like that, stop in and see Dave or Dave Jr. Dave at D&M Sales, 3071 Seneca Street, West Seneca, New York, 14224. Great friend of the show and obviously big Bills fans, so we like having them on our team.
Okay, so I suppose we might as well start with the good news here. We'll start with the Bills, and then we'll get into the Raiders here.
Why so gloom? Yeah. You moved up a little in the batting order. Now we're fourth in the draft choice sweepstakes. So with no end in sight. So I mean, you're getting what you want, and it doesn't even seem like the tank is real. So I don't know. I wouldn't be so disappointed in the way that you've been talking over the last couple of weeks. But you're right. Bill's got the big win. Most importantly, remain in line for that number one seed and now have the tiebreaker with the Chiefs. So obviously having lost to Baltimore and lost to the Texans, who now both have 4 losses, and Texans are going into a game tonight that they could certainly throw up all over themselves, who knows. But the Bills are in an excellent position going into the bye week. And I mean, what further proof do you need how crucial being that number one seed would be is to have the bye week, using last year as an example. The Bills were the 2 seed, but in that, Pete, you'll remember, in that wild card game, the Bills lost Terrell Bernard and Douglas, Shaw Douglas, who was our cornerback. And that opened up the floodgates for the Chiefs to do things that they obviously were not able to do against us yesterday. So having those guys back in the lineup was huge. Staying healthy is the key, and now that we're starting to move towards that stretch where you want to make sure that you are going towards the playoffs, what a great time to have a bye. And 14 days off is a lot of time in the NFL, and you got to be very excited if you're a player and as a fan going into it in a 6-game winning streak. So some of the game notes. The defense was excellent, especially in the second half. Holding the Chiefs to only 7.5 points is very, very, very great job. With Worthy doing what he did, I was wondering if we were going to have to eat a lot of shit and a lot of crow, because you and I both know that I was way more on the Coleman train than most people, and people wanted Worthy in here because of his speed, and what a great first half he had. But knowing what we know about McDermott, they were going to make some serious adjustments to make it more difficult for him in the second half. He had 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown in the first half. He had 4 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown in the game. So they completely eliminated him, which was great. Our linebackers were tested, and so were safeties. And on those plays, especially in the first half, there was some miscommunication going on. But to see a guy like Cam Lewis come in there and step up and help out the defense, Terrell Bernard obviously be an awesome asset for us and continue to be, one of the better linebackers in the league. It was great to watch. But back to Cam Lewis, he came in, did an amazing job on their tight ends and many of the receivers on defense. But people quickly forget that he plays special teams too, and he made a lot of big plays on special teams. The guy is doing great things for the Bills and continues to be a leader on this team. And the dude went to UB, so he's getting a lot of love around here. There's a lot of people that are very excited to see him have the success that he's having. And the Bills did one thing yesterday on the Chiefs that a lot of people haven't been able to do, and they were able to get ahead and stay ahead and get ahead by 2 scores. Josh continues to do things that people didn't think he was going to be able to do. He's got 11 different guys catching touchdown passes this year. Gee, that's incredible. Knowing what we know, losing Diggs, losing Gabe Davis, blah, 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 you have all these guys stepping up and doing a great job for him, and yesterday was no different. So you get another guy, Samuel gets his first touchdown. So, they're moving in the right direction without even having Coleman and Kincaid in the game. So, and obviously the run of runs, probably the highlight of the season for most people. 4th and 2.
That might be like an MVP sort of moment right there.
Stamp, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was 4th down. In the past, we've had many coaches that probably would kick that field goal. But knowing what we know about Mahomes, the last thing you wanted to do was give him a chance to go down there and win the game. And not only was he able to get that first down, he was able to take it to the house. And, I mean, everybody in the world has seen it and will continue to see it now that we're going to be on this little hiatus for 2 weeks. And people are going to be talking about the Bills a lot more differently because we did take down the champs. But for most Bills fans, not many things have changed. We're looking forward to January and big win. Huge in the race for the number 1 seed, and we'll see what happens. We're not gonna play until almost everybody has played twice again. So it's going to be really nice to figure out where all the chips are going to fall as we're coming into December here.
We've been talking about it, on the show, but the Chiefs have been playing beatable. They were not the unstoppable force that they have been. Injuries obviously are affecting them and impacting, how they're playing. It's impacting the kind of even plays that they're calling now on offense.
Yeah.
And it's definitely impacted their team. There were moments where those big plays that we would have seen out of Mahomes, were kind of corked because you can't get away with that now. He doesn't have the personnel to do those major comebacks. I think that the Chiefs have kind of become so used to, if we do get behind, there's going to be some kind of magical play and then we're going to be fine. Whereas the team they have now needs to consistently be there and get those scores and control the ball and, eat up time and do all those things. I think they're just used to, Magic Man is going to go out there and do his thing.
Yeah.
The announcers actually during the game I thought had it right where they were saying how these other teams have kind of not really played to lose against the Chiefs, but they haven't really gone at the Chiefs. They haven't dug into them. Whereas what we saw from the Bills was we're not scared. We're gonna carve India. Mm-hmm. We're gonna hit all of our receivers. We're gonna take risks on 3rd downs, 4th downs, whatever else, and we're gonna play it hard. And of course, as always, it helps to have a quarterback like Josh Allen to cinch up the game. But honestly, up until that point, you can't really say that Josh Allen carried the team. Josh Allen carried that score and did, phenomenal job at it. But you're right. I mean, he's hitting multiple receivers, making a lot of people out there look good. He's doing the smart plays. I'm not seeing him, throw it away and be dumb anymore. He's not putting it all on his shoulders. A game like this, even last year, like if Josh Allen didn't have 120 rushing yards, then you guys weren't going to win. That's just kind of the way that it went. And now, I mean, he still has more rushing yards than, he's got 55 and, Cook has 20. But you can't really say that he's carrying the game by himself at this point. At this point, he is a superstar that is part of your team. Not necessarily, your entire team. Now, we've talked about it. Obviously, if you lose Josh Allen, your team looks a lot different, just like if, Kansas City lost Mahomes or any of that. But the wealth is definitely being spread around. I think that it's, smarter play calling, and Josh Allen is kind of growing up a little bit here.
Got to remember, this is the 8th time that they've played each other in 6 years. Chance that they'll probably play against each other again. These games have been consistently close with the Chiefs, including the playoff games. They blew us out the first time we went down there, and then last year, they beat us by 3, and of course, we know what happened in 13 seconds. So, the regular season games have all been very, very close too. But I'm going to tell you this. The Bills, up until yesterday, they were 11 for 12 on fourth down for the season. After yesterday, they were 12 for 14, and one of those was Josh's crazy run at the end. What they're doing that other teams typically won't is they're taking chances against that team. They're not afraid to give it to them at the 38 as they are to give it to them at the 8. I mean, they know that they can move the ball down the field anyway. So they're literally doing their best to even the playing field. And yesterday was a perfect example of that. There are a lot of coaches in the NFL, I hate to say it, that probably would have kicked that field goal. But McDermott knew that given the opportunity, this was it. And he put the ball in his best player's hand, and he let him make a play. Now, I mean, obviously Josh was Superman and got by the linebackers and then toasted the safety in the corner. So, I mean, we were blessed to have a great play like that. And you're right. He doesn't have to do that all for himself. And you're also right. He led the team in rushing, but he didn't have a lot of rushes. They were only on a couple of plays, including that one. So I'll take it. If he's only going to do it in the crunch time or when we need a crucial first down or something like that, I'll absolutely take it. What I don't need, against the 49ers on Sunday night and when we come back is him doing it, in the first quarter or just making bonehead plays like it seemed like he was doing more, earlier in his career and even in the first half. That interception had a lot of people shaking their head. Was it Dawson Knox's fault? Was it his fault? But again, that was them going for it on fourth down. So no matter what, when you have a coach that has the trust in his back like we do right now, it's going to make a lot of teams have to play very defensive, and that's something that the Chiefs just aren't used to doing.
Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs just did not look ready for you guys, to tell you the truth. I mean, and maybe that's reflective of the personnel, but
he blitzed. Here, look, in that first half, Worthy was able to do what he was able to do because Reed was getting matchups with the linebackers. Once we knew that, well, not we, once the coaching staff saw how they were attacking it, they found ways to just completely take it out of their game plan, and they did. I think the problem that the Bills will have down the road with the Chiefs is obviously Pacheco coming back. There's a lot of people that, feel though he is one of the best runners in the league, and obviously he runs with a lot of force and does some nasty stuff. But make no mistake about it, when you're coming back from a serious injury in the NFL, you're going to be very tentative, especially in December when you're going to be playing on cold fields and injuries are a lot more likely and you're not really in the flow like everybody else. Will he come back and probably figure it out by the playoffs? Probably. But he's not going to walk in there and be, the great player that he's been for them so far. An injury like that takes time, but again, he'll be someone that is crucial down the road for them. But same goes for us. We've got some great guys coming back, and again, what a great time to have the bye week because now you got, Brown can work to get himself back into it. Obviously, Kincaid can get back into it. And Milano, who was reactivated, and people are very excited about having him back out there. So he's not on IR anymore. He's got to dress one of these weeks coming up. So interesting to see how they work 58 back into the lineup with Dorian Williams doing a hell of a job as his backup. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun for Bills fans.
And, Pacheco obviously is eventually going to be back. But the Bills had an answer for Chiefs rush. I mean, is Kareem Hunt, Pacheco? No. But they still had an answer for that rush. I don't really think that, Kareem Hunt is, is a joke or something out there.
No.
And, I mean, they kept everyone to 78 yards. I mean, Kareem Hunt had 60 of those 78. You guys had more rushing yards than they did.
We controlled the clock too, G. That was a big part of that game. And when you say what you just said, we had more rushing yards and a lot more attempts. It's because you're winning. And then when you're winning, you're going to try to stuff it. You're a Raiders fan, that's the bread and butter. So like if you get an opportunity to be up 2 scores and it allows you to run it a little bit, you're going to see a lot of that down the stretch for many of the teams moving forward. Think of the good teams that are left. An absolute juggernaut right now who can do both of those things to you. But once they get up on you, they can just stuff it down your throat. Bills the same way. and the Chiefs will be too when they get Pacheco back.
Yeah, I think that it was it was the football sort of battle that everyone was waiting for. I feel like
It's a great
that
game.
that game could have gone either way, throughout the course of the game. You know, trusting Allen with the ball there at the end, great move, of course. Um, Ending with a interception from Mahomes was kind of nice if you're a
And
Bills fan.
first pass and last pass was an interception. That's pretty cool.
So that's kind of a nice little cherry on top there.
It's a regular season game, though, G. Right now the position that we are in, it's basically for preparation for the playoffs now. That's a huge win for us if it comes down to a possible tiebreaker with them for that number one seed. And that I've made it very clear that's a huge little chip that's being dangled there. But our schedule is tough, and we've got to go to Detroit. And we got the 49ers coming in here. We got to go out to LA. So the cupcakes are at the end. So if we can get through these 3 NFC games we have in front of us going forward, even at 2-1, you're in a very, very nice spot to have an opportunity to secure the number one seed. If the Chiefs can fall off, if the Raiders can help us out, if the Broncos can help us out, they still have they still got to play the Steelers. So this is the best time of the year because in the past, especially last year, we were biting our fingernails wondering if we were going to even make it in. This year, we already know we got the division locked up. It's how are we going to handle our business when, we get everybody healthy and back out there, because this is a dynamite squad, and when everybody's healthy, it's going to be fun to see, and how McDermott makes it all work.
To me, the big difference, from watching that game opposed to watching some of the other Bills games is last year when you and I were doing this show, and before we were doing this show we were just talking football. We had said that one of the Bills' biggest problems is that they played to their opponent. So when they played a horrible Broncos team, they barely scraped by to mess with them because they played at that level. When they played at Kansas City, they stepped it up, I guess. But this year, what it seems like is the Bills have decided this is the level that we're going to play at, and they're playing that level against every single team. And I think that that's the difference this year from the up and down that we've been seeing with, like, how the heck did they lose that game and all those kind of things, is instead of catering to the team they're playing, they're actually just playing Bills football and keeping at that high level of play, which has made a difference for your record and has made a difference for these victories that as long as I've known about Bills, it's been, how the heck could they lose that game? Like that Seahawks game that you guys played was a perfect example of a Bills team that before would kind of sink down to their opponents. That Seahawks game was one of those losses that we would kind of expect the Bills to just kind of get hit with all of a sudden. But that's not happening now. They're playing a high level of football against whoever you guys happen to be playing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the thing with the NFL is when you're on top and you're one of the better teams, you're going to get everybody's best shot. And when you play some of these divisional games for us coming down the stretch, it's going to be Super Bowl for the Jets and for the Patriots when we play them at the end of the season. But you still got to handle your business, right? You still have to be prepared and yourself into the mindset that these games all matter. I think part of the problem, especially over the last 2 years where we had those games like that, where you're scratching your head and saying, how the hell did you just lose to the Denver Broncos? Or the loss to the Jets on Monday night last year. How do you lose that game without Aaron Rodgers even being in there? Like, those are the things that, yeah, as Bills fans can tell you from the past, we've had plenty of games like those trap games or those ones that come back to bite you. But this season, it seems to me that they're just handling their business in week out. And it's a tribute to the coach. That's a tribute to both the offense and the defense doing a great job. And make no mistake about it, other than the missed extra points, our special teams has been dynamite in the 6-game winning streak. And if they can continue to be, an important part of the game, I was talking to a friend of mine this week. I said, don't be surprised when our special teams makes a big play for us and gets a turnover for us when we need it. And one of the games coming down the stretch, and I can't wait for him to send me that text no matter when it ends up happening, because it's going to happen. They are ball hawks. They do a great job of keeping it all in front of them. And, our kickers are very underrated, and especially Martin. People don't talk about how good he's been. Our punter has been fantastic this year, and if he can continue to do that and put teams in a difficult position, it's going to make everybody continue to look better. So I'm happy about the direction it's going, and a big reason why we don't play down to the competition anymore is because to it. They've been through it, and they don't want to go back to having to, fight for everything. This season's been wonderful because you have such a big lead in the division, and you can kind of see everything that's in front of you.
So what are some takeaways that you have, kind of wrapping up the Chiefs game there? Some things that you saw that we got to fix this before playoffs, or, fix this for Super Bowl, or what else?
Well, obviously, you got to continue to have healthy bodies in there. I will go to my grave saying if Terrell Bernard was able to play last year against them in the playoffs, we would have definitely had a much better shot and maybe even won. With that being said, with Milano coming back, with guys coming back that are going to be very, very beneficial to us in this stretch, that's the number one thing, is staying healthy. We're going to get there. We're going to get to see them again. Everybody knows that that's a strong possibility. And for what it's worth, we've done what we needed to do in the regular season, but it don't mean shit until you win in the playoffs, G. So I just want them to keep that swagger, keep that, everybody eats attitude, keep Josh, comfortable back there doing what he needs to do, and just stay the course, stay healthy, and I think everything will be in your favor once we get to the playoffs for sure.
I think the defense that we're seeing from the Bills too, I think has actually impressed me even more than the offense. I mean, the offense, when you got Josh Allen there, there's a lot of things you can make work for wide receivers and all those kind of things, with him back there. But you can't really cheat on the defense, and the defense is helping you win games for sure. We talked about last week as far as the defense had to win that game. Great. I'm glad the defense had you in that game. It looks good. I mean, that's not a problem. I think that the defense has been there for you guys. I think it's been kind of, circling really good, and now you got those pieces in place, and it's solid. It's solid.
Well, they got turnovers on first series the last 2 weeks in a row, which is huge, especially if you're playing the Chiefs. You get Mahomes to throw an interception early, and you go down, and you score on that. That sets the tone for the rest of the game. So, you'd love to see everybody contributing too. I talked a little bit about Cam Lewis, but you go out to the outside and you look at the cornerbacks and the job that they've done for us. Benford's one of the best coverage guys in the league. Douglas is also up there. Damar Hamlin made some big tackles yesterday, and in the past, it seemed like he was making them way, way, way downfield. He was in the backfield a couple times yesterday. You'd love to see it. And Rapp had plays for the Bills again yesterday, some breakups. He won a lot of tackles. You love to see the young guys stepping up, G, and that's a big reason why this defense has been so successful. Your two edge guys were both big draft picks by us, Rousseau and Empineza, and they continue to be very, very disruptive back there. You got Von Miller coming in and being very, disruptive yesterday. Jordan Phillips, who they picked up off the street 2 weeks ago, was awesome. He was awesome for the Bills, and he seems to do very well when we play against the Chiefs. So, I could go on about every single player on that defense, but it's obvious that, the and the coach are working hand in hand, and at halftime you have to take your hat off to McDermott and his coaching staff for the adjustments that they've made over this stretch where the games were very close in the first half, but then we ended up running away with it in the second. it's all because the defense set the tone, G, and it's a great point that you made here to basically say, it probably doesn't happen. It definitely doesn't happen without the contributions that we're having on the defense.
So, what do you want to see from the bye week? You guys have this bye week coming up. Is rest the big thing, or
100%.
is training the big thing?
No, they're going to be, it's funny because you and I were talking a little bit about this. The league rule is that, you're supposed to give them at least 4 days off or something like that. So I was listening to some of the local radio stations today. Eric Wood is a center that used to play for the Bills years ago, and he said McDermott used to be really stingy about it. But I guess they're going to give them an entire week off, and I'm totally fine with that. I stated on the show, I feel like Josh is very banged up, but then he doesn't talk too much about it. For a dude like that to get 2 weeks of rest would be awesome, especially after yesterday's game. Spencer Brown, we need back. He's a tackle that has been fantastic for the Bills this year. I really think if it was the playoffs, he probably would have been out there. He just didn't want to mess around with the ankle. And knowing he's got 2 weeks after the rest that he's already gotten, why risk it? Kincaid, he's huge in what we probably are going to want to be doing once we, get Sheen really going. So he was a little banged up last week, sat it out yesterday. But again, I feel like if it was a playoff game, he probably would have been out there. And obviously, they've been very hush-hush about what's going on with Coleman. He's not wearing a cast. He's catching some balls in practice. I don't know how serious of an injury it is, but he's obviously going to be somebody we're going to need down the stretch. So 2 weeks of these dudes having an opportunity to get in the classroom, get healthy, stay on the ball, stay smart, and then obviously, the ace in the hole is Milano. If he could be back by Christmas and out there making some plays and have him ready for, I just can't imagine Bird and Milano being on the field at the same time. It's going to be a good problem to have for this Bills defense. And, Teron Johnson will be the happiest person in the world because knowing that he has those two studs back there, he could take a lot more chances. And obviously, knowing how well this defense knows each other and how long they've been together. 5 years for a lot of these guys is a big deal. And now that, nobody thought that they were going to be in the position that they're in right now except for them. So hats off, and I hope they can continue to just build and use this time to gel and get right and be ready for the 49ers when they show up.
It's certainly going to be a comfortable position to be in for your bye week when you've already conquered the division at this point. You guys just took out, the big dog in the league that everyone's, been ranting about. It's a nice spot to be able to, go down and maybe chill out in Miami and, have some drinks. We're welcome down in Vegas. If you want to come down, you can leave us Ray Davis down here if you want.
Yeah. Gee, I really think I'm not sure how the math goes, but there's a situation next week that if I think the Dolphins lose, the Bills wrap up the division. They can't be caught. We're talking about doing it before Thanksgiving. That's insanity. Obviously, a great problem to have, and a very well scheduled bye week for the Bills, to say the very least.
Well, moving on to Raiders here. First off, I don't know why everybody seems to be confused about, why are we losing? I'm depressed about the fact that we're losing, but going on the forums and everything, everyone's getting all upset about we lost again. This team sucks. Blah blah. I've been saying on this show now for weeks and weeks, guys, the tank is on. If you didn't see that before the trade deadline, then you definitely should have seen it at the trade deadline when we didn't make any moves to improve anything about this team. We went back to If you didn't see it then, how about when we went back to a quarterback that we have benched for every other quarterback that we have? We've benched him for that. And then here we go, we throw him out there again. If that wasn't enough for you, then we have our new OC saying how, it's too late to really, change up any plays or anything like that. Just going to go with the old playbook, blah, blah, blah. If that doesn't tell you, I mean, I mean, what else do you need to know that we are not trying to win? Okay, we have posts from Sanders there saying, thank God they lost again because he wants to be on the Raiders. Like, this is not the plan. For those of you guys that are AP fans, all you can do is hope that AP is in on the tank, because if AP is not in on the tank, then that means that they plan on getting rid of him. So hopefully, if you're a fan of AP, hopefully he's in on this. You can tell from his press conferences. At first, I thought that that his tone, demeanor, all those kind of things were stemming from the fact that they were losing. Now part of me wonders if he's just pissed off about having to tank. He doesn't have that personality that he wants to go out there and lose every game and stand up on the mic and explain why the Raiders are horrible. At this point, I feel like he's just agitated because maybe he doesn't really want to be doing this, but the tank is on. In looking in our schedule, I don't see any bright spot coming, and at this point, why would you want a bright spot? I mean, we're following the plan. We have the plan here is to do horrible, and we're doing a great job at that. We have that going for us. If we look at our new every week here, I keep on bringing these up. I mean, we're making progress. There we are, number 4. We need to get Cleveland to get a win here so that we can kick them out of there. But as far as our threats to going for a quarterback here, we're looking pretty good for those threats. So this is the plan. This number 4 right here, we want that to be up here. That's the whole plan. So yes, it sucks for us. Yes, it sucks every week to watch this team just go down in flames. But if you set yourself up for hey, we're going to win today, you're going to be disappointed every game. One of the things that's happening is the people that make money on our seats, they're doing really well. I was on the forums and there's so many posts, just like this one right here. There's so many posts, and everyone wonders, well, how come our stadium, is not all blacked out and everything else? It's because all of these, verified PSL holders are doing exactly this. They're selling all their games for the season. They're making money on every single game. They're making, this is actually really cheap, to tell you the truth, for 122. So that just shows you how bad we are getting at this point. But normally these are in the 400 or 500s for this. But this is what everybody is doing. They're they bought PSLs to sell them. So that's why we're not having blacked out stadiums and all that. And we are not putting a product out there that. And why would I pay for it? AP was if you guys come, then we're going to win for you, blah blah blah. If you remember that whole thing in the beginning of this season, well, we did show up in the beginning, and it was the same product that we've been watching. Me personally, I've been a Raiders fan for a very, very long time, and I will not pay the money to go down to Vegas, catch the game, do that whole trip. I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that to sit in my own stadium and, get trash talked to? And I don't even have a response at this point. There's no comeback. And for me, considering my wife is also a huge Raiders fan and loves traveling, it's really easy to go to a game. When your wife wants to go to games, it's, for those of you guys that don't have this going on with your wife, you and me, PC, we're lucky because our wives will go to these games and we'll take the trips. I mean, that's not what everybody has. So we're lucky in that sense. But even with that, it's why would I go spend all that money? I'll wait till next year when they play the Steelers, and I'll pay $100 for a ticket, and I can drive there. Or this year we went to 2 games that we could drive to. That's where I'm going to go see them. So I don't even have a reason to go to my home stadium because there's no point to doing that. So hang on, everybody, and make it through the season. The one thing that I will say, if we're looking for a positive, this is the first game that I can say the defense lost it for us. The offense was actually good enough to win. In this particular game, the defense allowed Dolphins to they did a drive from the 5 yard line. They took up an entire quarter with that. I mean, the defense allowed the Dolphins to control the ball, control the timeout on the field. They could do whatever that they wanted. And our offense actually stepped it up for once. Our offense actually, was it a great offense? Blah, blah, blah? No. But was it a lot better offense than what we've been seeing? Yes. And the funny thing is, because Scott has said I'm not gonna be doing all these new plays and everything. Essentially, all Scott's doing is he's being a play caller. And with that little difference of him being a play caller, we almost beat the Dolphins. I mean, that's how bad Getsy was. But like I said, if the plan was to fix this team this year, then when Steelers went with Wilson, we would have tried to go get Fields. Something like that. We would have tried to make a move somewhere to do something, but we didn't. We mortgaged off Devontae, which we said on this show it should have been done earlier. We hopefully would have gotten more for him, but whatever. We got his contract out of the way, paid off, freed up for us. So great. The only reason we haven't got rid of Crosby is because, the organization loves him so much and he's become the icon of Raiders. So we haven't gotten rid of him, but we are completely in that, tank and rebuild mode. So hang on this year. We'll see what happens next year. I wish I was more excited for next year, but the quarterback options that we have in this draft, I'm not really excited about. I think that they're definitely going to go with Sanders, who to me is not a leader out there. I don't really trust him to run and lead my offense. I know he wants to be a Raider. I know his dad wants him to be a Raider. I know he's in with Brady. I know all of those things. But if you watch him, in a game, he doesn't have that I'm the general quality that I like in a quarterback. It just, I think that Cam Ward does a better job with that. And saying that, I'm not particularly excited about Cam Ward either. I'm not as excited as I was for someone like Jaden Daniels or something like that. The teams in our division are getting better and better. I don't know if you caught that Chargers game, PC, but Herbert is like off the hook now.
Oh, he's running. And then that's the big thing that he has added to his arsenal. I mean, last night he ran maybe 4 times for over 20. So if it's there, he's taking it. He's got a cannon. We both know that. But I also think it needs to be stated as the Bengals were terrible in the first half and made some plays in the second. But you're right. I mean, your division has certainly improved. Denver's probably going to be one of the teams that gets one of those wild cards. And obviously with the Ravens and the Steelers battling over first place, one of those teams are going to get it too. So with that one being left, who's it going to be? Is it going to be the Chargers? Is it going to be the Colts? That realm of teams that will fighting it out, and having a quarterback like him is very, very dangerous.
I think that we are a draft away from being a competitive team. I don't think that we're a draft away from being a Super Bowl team and all. That'd be a ridiculous thought. But I think that we are a good draft away from being competitive. If we keep the pieces we have right now that are working, we got to somehow come up with a new running back idea here, or we need to do a lot of fixing with our O-line. I actually have a lot of confidence in Madison, and I've always liked White, but neither of them are, getting the job done. The only reason we're going to White, to start off the game, which is, once again, we're trying to tank. I mean, they let Madison out there. Madison immediately proved that Madison's one that should be out there, but we keep going to White because, once again, we're trying to tank. So whatever, we'll put White out there. But we could use a solid running back that we can always trust. We need some wide receiver help, and we need a quarterback help at the very least for offense. Someone's got to help out Crosby. We have a lot of spots to fill. That if we have a good draft, then we could fill some of those spots. But I don't think that we have a blue chip quarterback coming next year. I just don't feel that way.
Well, I mean, and you'll also have an opportunity to, you're saying that you don't think he's a general. I watched him against Utah this weekend. He was pretty good. I mean, they lit him up, and they're not a good team, but still, I mean, with the bowl game that he's most likely going to be playing and coming up, they're 17th in the country. They're fighting for one of those spots. I'm not saying that, there's a chance that that's happening with all the battling that's going up at the top, but still, he's play in a bowl game, and we're going to see him have an opportunity to be under the big lights. And I don't know what it is about you that you don't like him. The only thing that I see that I feel like is an issue for me, it's his size. He's just not very big. So, like, you have a franchise now in the Raiders that have huge expectations of this kid coming in who's a smaller guy who has a famous dad and obviously has already started to establish his own brand. What happens if it doesn't work? There's going to be a lot of people whose heads are going to roll, and obviously it's going to be very difficult on the coach. It's going to be very difficult on everyone. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I know that you have a way better view on what's going on. I just don't think that they're tanking. I just think that the product that they have from the top isn't going to do it for the coaches, and that's why you see all these interchanging components with the quarterbacks, with the running backs. I mean, I think that's what's going on. I don't think they're purposely tanking. I just think they've realized that it's probably in their better interest to let everybody play, because that way, we know what we got, and we're not winning anyway. So let's see what we got and go out there and do it.
Yeah, but they're not doing those things. They're not going out there and trying new offensive schemes. They're not, playing people in different positions. They're not using this as practice. They're doing the same things every single game. It's just not working. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like, okay, let's try this guy here. Let's try this guy here. Let's try, different wide receivers out there. Let's try, that's not what's happening. It's the same people in the same positions failing at them miserably. It's the same.
Well, it's going to start
2-yard run from White.
Trust me, from my own experience with many seasons like this, it's going to start where guys who haven't been given opportunities will be given opportunities over these next 7 weeks and probably be able to stick around. Meanwhile, you'll have scrubs that, are dogging it and already know what's up and they want to get out of town, who will be sitting the bench and it is what it is. But like I said, I just don't feel like the coaches are actively making a decision to lose the games on purpose. That's all.
I don't know. If this is them trying to make good decisions, then we need new coaches. I mean, I would rather take it that they're tanking than this is our coaching staff. So I mean, I'd be better news for me if they're actually tanking it, because this ain't going to cut it.
This is the 100% normal conversation of people in QB purgatory, and like it all goes back to that. I mean, every coach looks better when their guy at the top is playing well, and until you get that piece, whether it's Sanders or in free agency or in 3 drafts or whatever, you're going to continue to want to pass the blame around the room until you really figure out you got to get your guy before anything good is going to really happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am. I'm not sold on any of them as being our guy. I lean towards Cam Ward. I like Cam Ward out there. He's a bigger guy than Sanders. I mean, honestly, my kind of quarterback is a Josh Allen, is a Cam Newton, is a Roethlisberger. I want a guy out there that has a presence on the field. Now, in saying that, who is the best quarterback of all time? Some skinny little white kid that, doesn't like to get out of a pocket. Okay, cool. That worked for them. But, I like having, that presence out there on the field. Even like someone like Russell Wilson, you know what I mean? I like that kind of style of quarterback. Not that I like Russell Wilson, but whatever. I would take him over what I have now, obviously. But Sanders, I'm worried about what is the price tag that comes with him as far as what kind of drama are we going to get ourselves into. His dad is his dad and he's him and all those kind of things. But, his dad has a major impact on what his kid's doing. So I don't know if we're going to get ourselves in drama there. I've seen Sanders in tight spots, and I just don't really get the feeling like he's being that guy for his team out there. In fairness, do I sit here every Saturday and watch every game he plays? No, I don't. I'm a Georgia fan anyway. But, in the games that I see, I'm not watching him saying, like, man, I cannot wait until he's wearing black and silver. And to me, the only reason why there's a reason to be excited about it is when your bar is set as low as our bar is set right now for quarterbacks. We could be excited about the announcer coming on. We'll seat 215. Please come down to the field. We need a quarterback. We could be excited about that at this point. So, hopefully Sanders will be better. I still want to see Ritter out there. I mean, unfortunately, Minshew has been doing better now. I mean, he the past two games. I remember last week I was saying this is the first game that I can say, Minshew didn't completely bomb it for us, but this game he was even better. This game, as far as he was making, some better decisions and all that. But it's watching a number two quarterback, lead number two receivers and having a number two O-line and, maybe a number two coach. I don't know. I can't really judge AP based on this season. I don't think it would be fair to fire him. I don't think it would be fair to, judge his entire career with the Raiders on this season. I know that lots of people, they were calling for Getsy, which great. Yeah, definitely. And now, they're calling for AP. But I can't really hold this season against them. I'm not ready to get rid of somebody that I think is an iconic Raider sort of coach and all that based on one season when like I said I believe that the plan here is to get down into those 2 or 3 slots for the draft. I can't blame them for that. Looking forward in the Raiders schedule, we got the Broncos. Usually is kind of a good deal for us. We've been dealing with the Broncos very well until this year. They've stepped it up a notch. So I don't know how that game's going to go. We're going to see KC again. Then we got Tampa Bay. Then we got Falcons. Then we got Jags, Saints, and then Chargers. So the schedule ahead of us is not an easier schedule. It's not an easy part of our year. Our easy part of the year was in the middle when we started our losing streak here. Now we're into a little bit harder part of the season. So Raiders fans, settle in. What I like to do is after every game, I like to check that draft, and it makes me feel better to see that we've moved up a spot now. That's kind of what holds me through. I watch Raiders in Red Zone now. That way I can watch other games too while I'm watching the Raiders game.
The best gift ever. Red Zone is amazing.
It better be a gift for $380 for the package and $70 a month for YouTube. Yeah, there we go.
Takes over a day of the week, baby. But yeah, you is not going to be easy. And there are some teams in there that you'll be fighting with for draft position. Obviously, Jacksonville is someone who's got Lawrence. I think just went on IR too. So they had Mac Jones was their quarterback yesterday, and they're shellacking that they had. So they're going to continue to do their best to lose some games. It looks like too. I don't know. My whole thing on the Sanders thing, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I just feel like that is exactly the type of situation that Mark Davis would want to put himself into to get some, some shine, get some TikTok.
Oh, they're gonna go with Sanders.
Yeah.
There's not a question that they'll go with Sanders. Like I'm not saying that he's not. I don't like him, but he's coming here.
Okay.
If he's available,
Yeah.
he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brady likes him. Davis likes him. That's why I'm saying, I like Cam Ward, but Cam Ward ain't the one that's going to be coming.
Do you
here.
think
It's
they're
gonna be
setting
Sanders.
this up? Okay, let's say that they draft Shakur and comes in, and they're 6-11, and do they fire Pierce and then bring in Dion to be the head coach? I mean, is that the type of type of bullshit that you're hearing in your forums that you go into there, or what's the deal with that?
Actually, that is a more logical sort of piece of gossip. The big thing on the forums is that Brady is gonna bring back Belichick, and Brady's gonna make Belichick our coach, and blah blah blah.
I heard Jacksonville.
I was talking to Raider James. I'm like, honestly, if they make Belichick my coach and we're back to the New England, Raiders, I don't know what I'm going to do with this team, because you've already taken away everything I liked about the team and the whole thing we stand for. If you give me Belichick again, it's going to be rough.
It's more QB purgatory if they don't get their guy, and it will make. Listen, I'm sure you've seen statistically what his record was when Brady wasn't around, and I just think he's an average defensive coach without Brady. So I don't think that there should be any traction to that rumor. I feel like the Dion one would make more sense, especially if they're looking to get his kid,
But I don't think that Dion wants to be at the NFL level. I think that he's mentioned before about there's just so much bullshit at that level that he doesn't want to deal with. And I'm also not sure he's really proven himself to be an amazing coach. It's not like it's we got to get this guy as a coach. Frankly, I think it would be better for his son to break away from him as a coach. If Dion came to us with his son, I could see Dion being an understaffer coach, kind of deal. The biggest one that I can see happening would be Brady becoming a GM. That's the biggest one that I could see happening.
Yeah,
is Brady wants to get more involved and becomes a GM.
I think the TV
as far
stuff
as head
is
coach
getting away
goes
for that right now until he's figured out what he's going to do with the TV shit. He's never going to be that GM, but at the same time, he's figured out ways to twist the rules before. I'm sure that there'll be something that'll be available for him.
Well, I think he's going to look at the TV contract and we'll see what's up. I don't dislike Tom as a GM. I don't think that
he'd be great.
I don't think that's a bad idea. Whatsoever. As far as head coach goes, Raider James talked about it last week. I'm with him on that. But as far as I'd like to see some new blood, I'd like to see someone new coming up. I'm tired of getting the same old coaches that we always get, and the same retread sort of thing. And I wouldn't mind seeing some.
Well, Dion's new up and coming. I mean, that's as new and up and coming as it gets.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if AP is going to work out. I don't know if he will work out. All I know is that this year is not a fair year to judge him on. I would say I don't think he's going to get fired next year either, even if we do have an 11 thing, just because I think Davis is tired of paying for people to sit at home. But this little 2-year prove it contract that AP has, we can count the first year out as far as proving it, because obviously that's not happening. He doesn't have control of his team. There's been some bad decisions that have been made, including letting the trade deadline pass, which I understand he's not the only one responsible for those decisions and all those kind of things. But he flat out said that he fired Getsy because he wants to keep his job. He flat out said, I'm firing Getsy because I want to stay in, black and silver, next year. So, unless he's making, that kind of thing up, which I doubt he is, then he realizes that, he's on the chopping block, and that this year did not prove that he has the ability to be a head coach, or that he has the ability to, to lead this team, where we got to go. But we had talked about it during the off season with during the preseason with AP, as far as if you're going to get a hype man, kind of defense-minded coach, you need to give him the gift of an amazing offensive coordinator. And that's something that Davis has refused to provide. So it hasn't set AP up for success in the fact that we knew he wasn't an offensive guy. We knew he wasn't an X's and O's guy and, was going to, lead this charged offense with new ideas. We knew all that. So, for you to pass on Cliff there just because, he wanted a 3-year contract and you give us Getsy, I mean, you set AP was set up for failure because he cannot take over the offense and say, this is mine now. You're failing at this. I got this. I'm going to take this over and plan it. He needs that offensive coordinator. It would be amazing if Scott was that guy. Once again, just from him, calling the plays out of a horrible playbook, we're already seeing improvement. So it'll be interesting to see, if we continue to see improvement in the last part of this year. But you can't hire AP and not surround him with an amazing offensive coordinator. It's not fair. AP is hired to rally the troops, blow the horn, be the Raiders front guy. That's what he's hired to do as a head coach. So you need people that are working, behind him and with him that can make those X's and O plays and, bring something new. We have this situation now with 2 amazing tight ends. Let's bring something new to our offense because, it's been every game it said Brock Bowers is our best receiver. We bring something new to this offense. So far, we haven't seen that. And if we don't, start keeping, Brock occupied, then he's going to want to be jumping off of our team as well. He wasn't ecstatic about being drafted by the Raiders in the first place. He's breaking records kind of despite our team at this point. So, let's try to keep him happy too, because he's a future element to an offense. But we need a coordinator that recognizes that. For the first time, we actually had Brock Bowers in the game doing something because we have play callers now that are calling plays that involve our best receiver instead of just run, for 1 yard until we, finally give up. So for those of you guys that are harshing on AP, I don't like to give people excuses, but he has not been set up for success this season. The quarterback situation, he inherited that horrible plan. We would be better off right now if we had Carr. And even if you don't like Carr, you can't deny that if we had Carr there, we would be better off than we are right now with either of our quarterbacks. That's the situation that he inherited. He wasn't able to draft a QB this year, but he did draft, the number 1 tight end rookie for us, who's the only one on our team that's making plays. They did that.
Carr, you probably threw out Devontae too. And in a season where, there's going to be some battling for them wild spots, who knows where you would have been if they were still both around.
Correct. So got to take it a little easy on AP. Let's see what happens after the draft. But, settle in, Raiders fans, because we're not planning to win. At this point, if we win, it just gets in the way of our plan to, get a quarterback at this point. Unfortunately, Devontae is not going to secure us that second-round draft pick with the way that's all going. So that's out the window. So we at least got to secure this really nice spot. If we would have tanked this last year, we would have had some even better options than we have now. If we would have, I would have tanked for Jaden. I would have done that. But that's not what we did. So we're gonna be tanking it this year. Hopefully, it comes up with something. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We will be back next week. Raiders will be taking on Broncos, and Bills will be taking on some sunning on the beach. So they'll be chilling out. I will be out of town coming up, so I'm gonna be trying to find a replacement for myself, and more entertaining. We're going to see if PC can actually host a show while I'm gone and do all the technical things in the background. So that'll be fun to watch.
Maybe
I'll
we'll
watch
finally
that.
put you where you belong to let the talent run the show, and you can do all the switches in the background.
Finally, yeah. I don't think I'm even going to pay for the Wi-Fi package on the cruise. I don't think it's. I don't. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to save you if I have to jump in there. I don't know.
Well, obviously, we'll have a chat next week, but I'm happy that you're going to be able to go on that, and we'll be a lot more to talk about before you do. But before we go, don't forget, stop by our friends at D&M Auto Sales, 3071 Seneca Street, West Seneca, New York, for all your, auto repair and new car needs. They're your guys. Stop in and say Millie.
You can catch us on our YouTube channel. You can catch us on anywhere you get your podcast. We do both audio podcasts and we have the YouTube channels working. So give us a like. Let us know what you think. And thank you guys for joining us.